It's time for the Blue Blows Podcast with your hosts, Alonso and Juan, Alicia Del Valle, and the babyface gimmick in the sky, Roger.
BetOnline is your number one source for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals this season. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on our first deposit. BetOnline. The game starts here.
So I'm watching the game last night, right? It's ninth inning, Dodgers are down, 9-4. It doesn't look good, right? And then I'm kind of keeping an eye on it and kind of hearing it from the distance, and I hear my next guest, lead off walk, right? So I'm like, okay, so I'm looking over, okay, let's see what happens, right? So I'm joined by the great Steven Nelson, who was on the call last night, and I woke up this morning, I'm like, you know what? I got to talk to Steven. I got to talk to him about last night. Steven, how you doing, man?
I'm great, Rod. I think we're still buzzing. Everybody is. If you root for the Dodgers, you're affiliated with them. That was unreal. Hell of a night here at Coors Field.
Yeah, I mean, like I was telling you, I hear leadoff walk, and then Miggy Rojas comes up, right? He gets a hit. So now we're like, okay, Dodgers got to win now, right? Because Miggy Rojas just got a hit, right? So they're still down 9-4. So it's like. Yep. Okay, how are they going to do this? And then obviously they get the bases loaded. It's so funny you say that, man, because we're EK and I are in this booth, and Rick Krajewski, the doctor of stats for the Dodgers, he kind of says that. I think you got a hit. I mean, it has to happen now. And we were laughing because it was like kind of half serious, and then ultimately it does play out that way, and the team stays unbeaten for Miggy Rowe. Yeah, I mean, incredible, right? Bases loaded. Jason Hayward comes up, right? He hits that grand slam, right? So this is what I want to ask. I hear your call, right? I mean, I hear the excitement. Just hearing you when he hits that grand slam. After it's done, you're like, Dodgers not done yet, right? They're not done yet. I mean, you as a broadcaster, right? I mean, what's kind of going through your mind when you're seeing that, just unfold in front of you?
Well, truthfully, we said at the beginning of the ninth inning, I think after the first two, hey, let's get weird here, and I really did feel just the combination of this park and the Rockies bullpen. It wasn't just saying it flippantly, just throwing it out there in the universe, and then if it doesn't happen, oh well. There was definitely a huge part of us that believed that it was possible, and that they could mount a charge, and maybe not score 7 on 2 home runs, but that they could come back in it. But as soon as J.Hay hit it, it's like, hey, there's still only one out. At that point, it felt inevitable. It really did. Internally, I was like, they're going to find a way to do this. At least tie the game. So that, trying to take myself back into that moment in time. Yeah, as soon as Jay hit the foul ball, it's like, this is real.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as it's 9-8, now you're like, dang, they've come all the way back now. You want them to win this, to tie this up now, because to battle all the way back and then end up falling at 9-8 or something. It's like, oh man, I think it's even worse. It's an even worse feeling, a bigger heartbreak, right? To be down that much and then to lose, coming back.
No, as a sports fan, it's like you hate that. It's like that false sense of hope. Hope is a terrible emotion to have. You'd rather just okay, just let's get a couple quick outs here, so then I have zero hope that it come back. And just lose 9-4. That's easier to stomach than 9-8. That's how we're wired as sports fans.
Yeah, and then so then Shohei comes up, he gets a hit, he gets on. Yeah. They walk Freeman, and now you got Teoscar up there, and obviously there was a lot of did he swing on that, and it's such a weird rule, right? That check swing, because there's no actual definition of he went this or he went there, I mean, Dodgers were victim to that in 21, right? When with the Giants, when they lost that game, and then they ended up playing a wild card game because of that. So
yeah. Something about the Dodgers and check swings in the last few years. It's become a thing. But it's hard to think of a rule in any sport that is more gray than the check swing in baseball. I mean, because it's really all dependent on the random person stationed down the first base line sees. That's all it hinges on, and just their feel. Is it intent to swing? Is it bat pass? Is it bat? Getting in front of the hands? Like, it's all up for subjective interpretation, and so you're just kind of hanging on the balance, and in that split second waiting for the call. Now, I can understand why the Rockies are upset. Jake Cave was explaining he was most upset because he was told by Lance Barksdale, the crew chief, that it wasn't close, when it was very obvious he was extremely close. So it was just like a semantics thing that really set him off. But at the end of the day, Lance Barksdale making a call on a check swing didn't serve up a grand slam, a pinch hit grand slam, and a go-ahead 3-run home run. Get the out, throw it, throw one more strike, right? So that's that old cliche, right? Great teams find a way, and when you give great teams or a great player another opportunity, they're going to take advantage of it, and that's exactly what Teo did. So
now, I mean, when you see that, right, are you kind of sensing something in the booth? Or you kind of like
I told you, man, I thought it just there was this sense of inevitability. After the home run, though, I didn't think there was going to be another home run. I did not think Teo was going to go deep there. I thought he was going to get a knock and tie the game up. So that's what I was thinking. But we were standing in this booth. We were so into it. That was probably one of the crazier games. I mean, at the top of my head, craziest game I've called. Certainly in my 2 years or year plus here.
I was going to ask you, has there been a game that you remember anything like that? I mean, I remember there was a game in Colorado a few years back where the Dodgers kind of did this.
Right.
They hit a grand slam.
Andrew Toles, Yeah. So and obviously that predated my time. Just from my personal experience, there was a game in Seattle a couple years ago. It was Mariners and Rays, and I think Jared Kelenic hit a pinch hit home run in the bottom of the 8th inning to give Seattle the lead. And then in the 9th inning, Manny Margot, Dodger legend Manny Margot, hit a go-ahead home run off Paul Sewell, and the Rays ended up winning. So that was probably, now that we're talking about it, and I'm trying to think, that's one that comes top of mind. But I mean, a 5-run game in the 9th inning, scoring 7 on a pinch hit grand slam and a 3-run bomb. That's the new bar.
I mean, first time, right? They said that was first time a team down, in the 9th with a grand slam and a 3-run home run in the 9th, first time ever. So obviously we haven't seen that.
No,
but I mean, I get pumped, like I said, hearing your calls, right? You're like, Diddy, and then he's like, gone, Teo a hero, right? It just all that stuff, all of that emotion. I mean, I feel it as just watching it, and I get a different sense of when I'm at a game. It's exciting to see it there, but then when you hear the call of somebody calling a home run, it's such a different emotion, watching it. And
I really appreciate you saying that first and foremost. That's the kind of stuff that sticks with me and pushes you to get better and be ready for the next big moment, right? Because that's the responsibility of wearing the headset. It's on you to make the people who aren't here in the park to make you feel like you are. And so, last night I think, we were looking at, if you were to ask DK, I'm sure he might tell you the same thing. The game might seem out of hand, but it's our job to sort of kind of, build the moment and make sure that we don't pull the chute and hit eject just because conventional wisdom says the Dodgers had a whatever it was 0.5 or 5% chance of winning that game. We got to stay locked in and stay in it because there are fans who are locked in with us, and if we don't show the emotion and meet the moment, then at the end of the day, what are we doing? So I think that's our mindset when we're doing these games.
And you mentioned it too. You said you guys were standing, right? And I saw a previous video when the Shohei walk-off at home. There was video of you and you're up standing. You can't be sitting down. You got to be up for these moments, right?
Oh man, I'm stand like the rest of you. You know what I mean? Like with those tense moments. That's something I do quite a bit for a number of reasons. Sometimes you feel like your energy's getting low at a certain point, and so I want to stand up and kind of keep the energy up. And then other times it's just kind of the natural stress and anxiety that the game provides. Now you still have to stay, kind of stay calm and stay centered so you don't, lose your diaphragm as a broadcaster and all the technical stuff that, that we pay attention to. But yeah, man, those when games are hanging in the balance, again, I'm sitting right next to you. I just have to maybe I just have to work, but it's really not that different of an experience.
And one thing I noticed too is he hits that home run, you make the call, and then you just hear the crowd, right?
Yep.
I mean, obviously a large Dodger contingent out in Colorado. You hear it; it sounds like a home game. But are you doing that also purposely? Like Vin Scully would always say, just listen to the crowd, let that roar.
100%, Roger. 100%. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that we're a lot of us are taught or should know is to let the moment breathe, right? Like while it is our job to talk and verbally describe what is happening, more often than not, the pictures and images that our crew is capturing, our camera operators are finding, our directors are calling for, they say more than we can, and so just shut up. Just shut up. I hate. It's to each their own. Every broadcast, you have to be you, but and hate's too strong of a word. I don't love when I see highlights of big moments and it's just talking the whole time, just the whole way around the trip around the bases or what have you. It's just get in, get out, and lay out. That's kind of how I want to approach this job, especially in key moments.
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome moment, awesome Dodger moment. It's going to go down in history, and just like I said, just hearing you adding to that, it's awesome. Just an awesome overall night experience. So really appreciate it.
I can't say thanks enough, Roger. It meant a lot to get your text, and happy to hop on it and chat about it because that was awesome. That was awesome. Like you said, I think it's one that anybody who's repping Dodger Blue is going to remember forever.
Yeah. Real quick before I cut you loose, I just wanted to kind of get your feedback on the Mookie injury, the Yamamoto injury, and how this team is going to go on without them. I mean, we've seen how they're doing, but I mean, this is definitely a team that obviously they need those guys, but they're built to kind of go forward and kind of keep doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that they built a massive lead in the division, so it sort of mitigates any of the stress or anxiety that already comes with news like that. That's not to say that they do not care and they do not lament that they no longer have one of the 3 or 5 best players in the world in Mookie Betts, and they no longer have one of their top arms in the rotation, someone that they still hope will be a massive factor come this fall. But point of the season, we're in June, and on paper the Dodgers are in a soft portion of the schedule, and so you have some guys, whether they're young and more inexperienced, like a Vargy getting called back up. I know he's not technically a rookie anymore, but really still his first year as a major leaguer, or someone who's more experienced and trying to get rolling, like Kike Hernandez or Chris Taylor. Okay, guys, like this is what you're here for, to provide depth in the event that things go wrong, and things inevitably do for every team every year, and that's something Freddie's talked about. Freddie's been on a team that lost its superstar player and still found a way to win a World Series, right? It's part of this business. Like anybody who signs up to play pro sports, they know that injuries happen. It's just about the timing of them. And yeah, that's the one silver lining that you can try and grasp onto if you're a Dodger fan, is that these happen relatively early in the year, and that there is still a runway for both of them to come back. For Mookie, like the plan is, being a splint, he's not going to be doing anything with that left hand, not catching the ball, not taking two-handed swings, but he's still able to throw. He's still able to do one-handed swings with the top hand. He's able, still going to run and keep the obliques moving. And so that's what he's going to be doing from a physical standpoint. In addition to that, it's just the mental breather. And I think it was no secret to anybody that, his transition to shortstop this year has come with a bigger mental weight than he was expecting. And so now he gets to kind of take that off of his shoulders for a little bit. And as he put it, watching it, sit back and cheer on the boys. And,
last thing I wanted to check in with you. What are you seeing from Walker Buehler? I mean, 8 starts, obviously he's not the Walker that he's been. And Walker is just so wired to being that dude, right? He wants to take the ball on those big moves. And he hasn't been there. He had one great start, and you can literally see it. It's like he's fighting to try and get to that, and it sucks to see him that he can't get there. And kind of what are you seeing from him?
No, man, I it sucks. I hate it. I hate because you've seen somebody be, what Walker Buehler can be when he's at the top of his game, and he knows that. But he's at a point physically and mentally where things, whether internal and external, they're not allowing him to be that version of himself. And you can't, us mere mortals or non-pro athletes, we can't really understand what that internal struggle is like. And you have to give Walker a ton of credit for how open he's been about that. And after these last handful of starts or whatever it's been, where he's very obviously kind of in this transition period, and he's struggling with that. That's real. That's human stuff, And so don't know what the plan is going to be for him. We're going to go down and hear from Doc in a little bit. He might have an update on that. But the biggest thing for Walker is he's 8 starts in after a second Tommy John surgery. And, I was asked like a month ago, actually right after that start against Cincinnati, so last May 18th or whatever it was, like, hey, like how long are you going to give Walker Buehler before, you start to make any judgments? And I was like, honestly, a year. Like, if you're going to be fair to him, a year. But that's not a luxury that he or the Dodgers really have, because the season's happening and the fall is going to get here before you know it. And while you want to say, okay, well, these struggles don't really matter, it just matters getting him right for October. You want to have some like foundation of success and a track of success to build momentum and, more importantly, confidence that he can be that guy again on the biggest stage. And right now, the exact opposite is happening. So I think that's where I'm at on Walker Buehler right now, is that I hope that whenever the breather comes for him, is that he can kind of go back to the drawing board, be at peace with the fact that he's not that same dude that the Dodger fans watched in 2020, or that he knows that, or that he came to be, but he can be a different version of himself and an impactful version for this team, just in a different form.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there. I mean, he just has to kind of find himself, reinvent himself.
It's not like this is not like a fair apples to apples example, but just think back to last year when Noah Syndergaard, right? He was very clearly a guy who still wanted to be the Thor who's throwing 98 at Citi Field, 8 years ago. He's not that guy anymore, but he was trying to find ways to be that guy again, as opposed to how can I reinvent myself. And again, not apples to apples. I'm not saying that Walker is approaching this the same way. It's just just trying to give like a comparison for the internal human element.
Yeah. So I appreciate it, Steven. Appreciate the time. I know you got a game to call tonight.
Thanks, man.
So we're gonna be heading out to go and checking in on Clayton Kershaw. So that should be something tonight. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You'll have to I'll text you for that update.
Yeah.
You'll be watching in person. I'll just be checking the box score. But hey, Roger, I always appreciate when we get to chat, and we'll do it again soon.
All right. I appreciate the time, Steven. Thank you.
You got it, bud.
This episode has been brought to you by BetOnline. The game starts here.